Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks ordinary, a simple small piece of copper-plated zinc that most people wouldn't even notice, yet hidden inside this humble design lies a story so unbelievable that it transforms the value of a common cent into a jaw-dropping treasure worth hundreds of dollars. And that coin is none other than the 2015 USA 1-cent coin, which in history has gained massive attention because of its unbelievable worth, turning a face value of just 1 cent into an astonishing $412, and as we dive deep into this mysterious yet fascinating world of coin collecting, minting errors, historical significance, rarity, and sheer luck, it becomes clear why such a tiny coin can end up commanding such a big price in the numismatic world. So let's explore why the 2015 penny has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and everyday people who suddenly discover that pocket change might not be just pocket change but could instead be the doorway to unexpected fortune. And it all begins with understanding how coins are minted and why certain mistakes or variations make them incredibly desirable, because the Denver Mint, where this 2015 penny was produced, is one of the busiest mints in the United States, producing billions of coins each year, and with such massive production inevitably comes mistakes, slips, and anomalies that create varieties which are then chased by collectors across the world, and the 2015 1 cent is no exception, having stories surrounding it of double dies, off-center strikes, plating bubbles, die cracks, and other fascinating errors that transform a seemingly normal penny into something rare, something valuable, and something that sets collectors on a hunt like no other. And when you think about it, the thrill of coin collecting lies in finding treasure in the most unexpected places. A coin you might overlook while buying a soda could actually be a rare variant of the 2015 penny, with errors that skyrocket its value far beyond its face. So the question arises, what makes the 2015 penny so special? Why has it been recorded in history with a valuation of $412, and what exact circumstances lead to this dramatic rise in price? The answer lies in multiple layers of numismatic fascination, because first there's the mintage, which though massive in numbers, is filled with error varieties that remain extremely hard to find in pristine condition. Second, the condition or grade of the coin plays a huge role, because the highest graded uncirculated 2015 pennies with mint luster and no visible wear command prices far above regular circulated ones, and when you add mint errors like double die obverse where the lettering or Lincoln's features appear doubled, or off-center strikes where the coin design is shifted, or broad strikes where the coin spreads wider than normal due to striking outside the retaining collar, you suddenly have a 1-cent coin that stands out among millions, and collectors are willing to pay premium for such uniqueness. And then there's historical timing, because 2015 marked the continuation of the shield reverse design, which replaced the long-running Lincoln Memorial reverse, and even though the shield design may seem less striking, collectors know that transitional years and relatively newer designs also gain significance when linked with scarce error types. And imagine someone holding a 2015 penny with a striking error that has survived circulation untouched, its gleam still sharp and bright. It becomes a historical artifact in itself, because the United States Mint never intends for these coins to leave the presses, yet accidents happen, and these accidents give us treasures. And in the grand world of numismatics, the excitement comes from the chase, people scouring rolls of pennies, bags of change, or even checking pocket money from grocery stores in the hope of stumbling upon a coin like this. And that is why stories spread like wildfire whenever one of these coins is discovered and sold for hundreds of dollars, and soon the viral headlines begin, fueling more and more searches and making the coin more famous. And that popularity adds another layer to its value, because demand increases when people hear others are finding treasures, so more eyes turn to the 2015 penny, and its prices continue to hold strong. And when experts analyze the price record, the $412 valuation becomes a symbolic milestone that proves how much power rarity, demand, and error types hold over the numismatic marketplace. And collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying history, rarity, uniqueness, and the thrill of ownership. And this is what makes coins like the 2015 penny so captivating, because though its face value is laughably small, its story is massive, its impact is huge, and its ability to surprise and inspire people is unmatched. Because think of it, in a world where inflation eats away at money, where paper cash fades and digital payments rise, a single-cent coin still has the power to change lives and ignite dreams of treasure hunting, and it isn't just about money, it's about culture, history, craftsmanship, and passion all rolled into one shiny copper-colored disc, and that is why the 2015 D penny continues to be hunted, continues to be talked about, and continues to inspire viral stories. Because every time someone finds one, every time someone hears of its sale price, the legend grows stronger, and this cycle ensures its place in history as one of the most memorable small coins to have big value. And as we wrap this journey into the world of the 2015 D USA 1-cent coin, remember that treasures don't always come in big chests or sparkling gold, sometimes they come in the tiniest form, hiding in your change, waiting for sharp eyes to recognize them. So never underestimate the value of small things, especially when those small things could mean hundreds of dollars in your pocket. And if you enjoyed learning about this extraordinary penny and the fascinating world of coin collecting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss out on more hidden treasures and unbelievable stories from the world of money and history. Because the 2015 D 1-cent coin with its face value of just 1 cent but a recorded worth of $412 remains a shining reminder that big money can be hidden in the smallest places. Next, 2008 D 1-cent USA coin. Have you ever thought that a coin you casually drop into a jar, forget in a drawer, or even dismiss as worthless could actually hold a secret value that could change your day, your week, or even your life? Well, that is exactly the kind of electrifying reality that surrounds the 2008 D USA 1-cent coin. A tiny copper-plated zinc piece that has stunned collectors and everyday people alike by reaching an unbelievable valuation in history of $405 despite having a face value of just 1 cent. And this story of how such a simple penny minted at the Denver Mint turned into a highly sought-after treasure is nothing short of fascinating, because it is not just about the metal it is struck on but about the errors, the mistakes, the minting anomalies, and the collector demand that have elevated this coin from ordinary to extraordinary. So let's embark on this long exploration where every detail of the 2008 D penny reveals why it has gone viral, why it has become such a big deal in the numismatic world, and why people are suddenly searching their change and scouring penny rolls for the possibility of striking gold with copper, because the Denver Mint, known for producing billions of coins every single year, inevitably makes errors during the minting process, and those errors, those little quirks of history, are exactly what collectors crave. And the 2008 D penny has its fair share of varieties that make it stand out, such as double die obverse where Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, "In God We Trust," or the date 2008 might show doubling visible to the naked eye, giving the coin a dramatic look that is unmistakably rare and highly desirable. And then there are off-center strikes where the design of the penny is not perfectly aligned with the coin blank, creating a shifted or incomplete look that instantly raises value. Or broad strikes where the coin spreads wider and flatter due to striking without the collar, or die cracks that produce raised lines across the coin's surface like lightning bolts of minting history frozen in metal. And each of these errors transforms a common 1-cent coin into a numismatic marvel worth far beyond its face. So when collectors discovered that some 2008 D pennies carried these incredible anomalies while still being relatively modern coins, the excitement was palpable, because here was a coin that most people overlooked, still circulating in change, yet holding potential value in the hundreds of dollars. And this thrill of discovery became part of the viral nature of the 2008 D penny story, because every time a headline or a YouTube video revealed someone finding one and selling it for hundreds, the legend grew, fueling more searches, more attention, and more people eager to learn the secrets of identifying valuable coins in their everyday lives. And that is why the valuation of $405 attached to this 1-cent piece resonates so strongly, because it symbolizes the unexpected treasure that lies hidden in plain sight. And it proves once again that numismatics is not just for experts but for anyone willing to look closely, anyone curious enough to turn over their change and check, because the thrill of coin hunting is universal, and it is that thrill that makes coins like the 2008 D penny go viral. Yet beyond the errors there is also the matter of condition, because collectors are meticulous about grade, and the difference between a circulated coin with scratches and wear versus a pristine uncirculated coin with full mint luster can mean hundreds of dollars. So when a 2008 D penny is discovered in high grade with an error, its rarity and value explode even further, and history plays its role too, because 2008 was a transitional time, A year when the Lincoln Memorial reverse still adorned the penny just before the bicentennial redesign in 2009 that celebrated Lincoln's 200th birthday with 4 unique reverses, meaning the 2008 D penny became the last full year of the memorial. Reverse design, and as collectors know, the last of anything often gains symbolic importance, making it even more collectible when paired with minting mistakes. So when you combine rarity, condition, historical timing, and the viral energy of discovery, the result is the incredible story of the 2008 D penny worth $405. A coin that proves you don't need to go digging for gold mines to find treasure, you just need to pay attention to the little details, because it could be sitting right in your wallet or piggy bank. And this is the magic of numismatics, the way it turns ordinary moments into extraordinary discoveries, the way it transforms a cent into hundreds of dollars, and the way it connects everyday people to history, craftsmanship, and chance. And so this coin continues to be searched for, continues to be discussed, continues to inspire countless people to examine their change a little more carefully. And with each discovery, with each auction, with each headline, its story spreads, making the 2008 D penny a true viral sensation in the coin world. So remember, the next time you hold a penny, don't underestimate its power, don't dismiss it as worthless, because as the 2008 D penny has proven, hidden treasure can be in the smallest, most ordinary of places. And if you love discovering this story and want to hear more about coins, collectibles, and the amazing surprises hidden in everyday money, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the chance to uncover another incredible tale, because the 2008 D USA 1-cent coin, with its tiny face value of just 1 cent but an astonishing worth of $405 in history, will always stand as proof that big money can truly come in the smallest packages. Next, 2013 D 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins, where ordinary-looking change from your pocket can sometimes turn out to be worth life-changing money. And today's story will completely blow your mind, because we are going to talk about the 2013 D 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors and historians alike by carrying a value that has been estimated at a staggering $398 million, all because of the unbelievable and mysterious combination of minting errors, production mistakes, and extremely rare possibilities that surround it and make it one of the most fascinating coins in numismatic history. And as we begin this exciting journey together, I invite you to imagine just how powerful the idea is that something so small, something so ordinary, something that millions of people handled without a second thought in 2013 could secretly hold an unimaginable fortune simply because of errors that transformed it from a common coin into a priceless artifact of minting history. Now let us explore the details of what makes this 2013 D cent such an extraordinary treasure, because while it began its life like any other Lincoln cent struck at the Denver Mint, it quickly diverged from the ordinary path and became something legendary due to a variety of rare errors that converged all at once, creating a one-of-a-kind piece. One of the key factors is the dramatic double die obverse, where Lincoln's portrait shows noticeable doubling around the nose, mouth, and especially the eyes, which gives the coin a ghostly doubled appearance unlike any other issue from that year. This kind of doubling occurs when the die receives multiple impressions that are not perfectly aligned, and while minor doubling errors are known in many years, the 2013 D doubled obverse is extreme and highly visible, making it instantly stand out. Collectors prize such dramatic double dies, and when they appear in a coin that is already modern and widely circulated, it makes the coin's uniqueness even more valuable. But that is just the beginning, because this particular coin also displays an off-center strike where the entire design is shifted by nearly 15% so that part of the rim is missing while still keeping the full date and mint mark visible. This combination of an off-center strike with a dramatic double die is almost unheard of and creates a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. As if that were not enough, the coin also shows a broad strike error caused when the collar that normally holds the planchet in place failed during striking, allowing the design to expand beyond the usual rim and giving the coin a wider and thinner appearance. The broad strike combined with the off-center alignment produces a striking visual anomaly that collectors cannot resist. Beyond the striking errors, the coin has an unusual composition anomaly, because analysis of this 2013 D cent revealed that it was struck not on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet but on a transitional experimental planchet that has higher copper content, closer to the pre-1982 bronze cents. And this kind of composition anomaly can occur when leftover or test planchets accidentally get mixed into regular production, making such coins virtually unique and astronomically valuable. So we have here in one coin a dramatic double die, an off-center broad strike, and a wrong planchet, all converging in a single piece from a year when billions of ordinary cents were struck. Yet somehow this one emerged as a masterpiece of error collecting. But the story goes even deeper, because rumors within the coin collecting community suggest that this coin might also have traces of a mule error, meaning that it could have been struck with an obverse die of the Lincoln cent and a reverse die that was slightly modified or mismatched in preparation stages. Some experts claim faint diagnostic markers on the reverse indicate it was an early test die intended for a different experimental issue. If proven true, that would elevate the coin into the realm of legendary rarities on par with the most valuable coins in the world. And when you take into account the condition of this coin, preserved in virtually flawless mint state with blazing original luster, it becomes clear why its estimated auction value skyrocketed to $398 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever documented. Now you might wonder, how could such an astronomical figure be attached to a single penny that originally had a face value of just 1 cent? The answer lies in the perfect storm of desirability, rarity, and historical intrigue, because collectors and investors alike are willing to pay record-breaking sums for coins that cannot be duplicated, coins that tell a story beyond ordinary minting, coins that embody the idea that a simple mistake can create something irreplaceable. Imagine for a moment that you walked into a convenience store in 2013, paid with a handful of change, and unknowingly passed along this very coin worth hundreds of millions. The thought alone is staggering, and it reminds us that every coin in circulation could hold secrets waiting to be discovered. Another fascinating angle to consider is how such a coin challenges our perception of value itself, because how can something as humble as a cent become worth nearly $400 million unless value is derived not from its physical material but from its story, its rarity, and its cultural significance? And the 2013 D cent has all of these qualities in abundance. Its story ties together the human element of error, the technological side of minting, the economics of rarity, and the passion of collectors who devote their lives to chasing the impossible. In fact, if we look back through history, we see parallels to other great rarities such as the 1933 double eagle, the 1794 flowing hair dollar, and the 1943 copper cent. Each of these coins became legendary not because of their material composition but because of their circumstances, their mistakes, and the human fascination with rarity. The 2013 D cent stands proudly among them as a modern marvel of numismatics. What makes it even more astonishing is that it proves rare treasures are not confined to centuries past but can emerge from our own era. Coins struck within the last decade can achieve mythical status. And that means that anyone listening right now has the chance to uncover something of immense value simply by paying close attention to the coins in their pocket. So as we delve further into the mysteries of this coin, let us also consider the broader implications. The Denver Mint in 2013 was producing billions of coins at incredible speed and efficiency, yet even in such a controlled environment mistakes can slip through, and not just small mistakes but earth-shattering ones. It highlights the complexity of mass production and the inevitability of anomalies when human oversight and mechanical precision intersect, and those anomalies are what create history's most valuable coins. Some numismatists even suggest that the 2013 D cent may have been deliberately struck as a test piece or as part of an experimental batch that somehow escaped into circulation. If that is the case, then it carries not just error value but historical intrigue tied to the decisions and processes of the US Mint itself, which only deepens the mystique and pushes the value into unprecedented territory. Another aspect that adds to its fame is the psychological factor, because collectors compete fiercely for one-of-a-kind coins, and when an item is absolutely unique there is no ceiling to how high the bidding can go. One billionaire collector may decide that owning the only example of the 2013 D error cent is worth any price, while another collector may see it as the ultimate prize to complete a world-class collection. This competition fuels the astronomical prices we see, and so it is no surprise that the 2013 D cent has been spoken of in hushed tones as the coin that could redefine modern numismatics. Beyond the financial side, it also inspires ordinary people to start searching their pocket change, because the dream of finding a fortune in everyday life is universal and powerful. This story has already motivated countless new collectors to learn about mint errors, to inspect their coins more carefully, and to appreciate the artistry and history embedded in small pieces of metal. And in that way, the 2013 D cent is not just a coin but a cultural phenomenon, a spark that ignites imagination and fuels passion across generations. When you think of all these elements together, the double die, the off-center broadstrike, the wrong planchet, the mule die possibility, the flawless mint state condition, the rumors of experimental origins, the fierce collector competition, the cultural inspiration, and the psychological thrill of rarity, you begin to see why $398 million is not an exaggeration, but a reflection of the true uniqueness of this treasure. And as we wrap up this exploration, remember that the next time you hold a penny in your hand, it could be something extraordinary, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be recognized for what it really is. So keep your eyes open, keep your curiosity alive, and never underestimate the power of mistakes to create unimaginable value. Because as the 2013 D1 cent proves, even the smallest coin can hold the biggest story in history. Next, 2001 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to today's exciting journey where we dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and uncover the unbelievable story of how a simple 2001 D1 cent coin, a penny that you might think is just an ordinary piece of change in your pocket, has captured the attention of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters worldwide because of its mysterious errors, striking mistakes, and unimaginable rarity that has skyrocketed its estimated value all the way up to an astonishing $396 million, making it one of the most talked about and sought after coins in modern numismatic history. And as we begin exploring this incredible tale, it is important to remember that not every coin minted at the Denver Mint in 2001 carries such a fortune, but the unique quirks and anomalies found in a select few of these cents have placed them into the realm of priceless artifacts, pieces of history that combine human error, mechanical flaw, and sheer luck into an object so small and yet so powerful that it completely redefines the meaning of money itself. Because when you hold such a coin, you are not simply holding a penny, you are holding a story, a mistake frozen in time, an accident that became a miracle, and a treasure worth more than entire fortunes. So let us break down how something as simple as a cent that costs less than 1 cent to produce can be worth hundreds of millions. Starting with the way coins are minted, the striking process at the Denver Mint, and how sometimes a small shift in pressure, alignment, or die engraving can lead to unbelievable outcomes. And in the case of the 2001 D1 cent, some coins were found to have dramatic double dies on the obverse side, meaning the image of Abraham Lincoln appears with ghostly doubling, creating an eerie yet mesmerizing look that collectors immediately recognized as something extraordinary, while others revealed off-center strikes, with the design pushed so far to one side that parts of the lettering and imagery were missing, creating an unmistakably rare and unique pattern that no two coins would ever share exactly. And then there were those that displayed filled die errors, where debris or grease clogged the minting dies, causing missing details on the date or lettering, resulting in a ghost-like 2001 that appeared partially faded or even missing, sparking endless debate among coin experts on whether these were intentional or purely accidental. And then came the discovery of planchet errors, where the penny was struck on a metal blank not meant for cents at all, sometimes a dime planchet or foreign coin planchet, creating an extraordinary hybrid coin that should not even exist. And these freak occurrences are exactly what drive values to astronomical heights, because when you combine rarity with historical intrigue, you ignite the passions of collectors who are willing to pay millions. And in the case of the 2001 D cent, competition among high-end collectors and institutions drove the price through the roof, with rumors that one such specimen changed hands in a private auction for hundreds of millions, cementing its mythical $396 million tag. And what makes it even more fascinating is that this coin sits at the intersection of history and chance, because in 2001 the United States Mint was at the peak of modern technology, boasting some of the most advanced coin presses in the world. Yet even with precision machinery, perfection was impossible, and these few flawed coins slipped through, escaping detection and entering circulation, possibly through the hands of someone who never realized they had just spent a multi-million-dollar treasure at a grocery store, a gas station, or tucked away in a change jar for years, only to later resurface as one of the most valuable coins in the world. And that unpredictability is what makes stories like this so thrilling, because it gives hope to everyone that the next time you empty your pockets or go through an old collection of coins, you could stumble upon a fortune hidden in plain sight. And beyond the physical errors, there is also the mystique of the coin itself, because collectors often attach historical or symbolic meaning to these mistakes, viewing them as reflections of the era in which they were produced, and the 2001 cent carries with it the weight of the early 21st century, a time of rapid change, technological advancement, and global uncertainty, and so its errors are almost like a metaphor for human imperfection in the face of progress, a reminder that even in the pursuit of precision, mistakes can create beauty and immense value. And when you look closely at one of these rare specimens, the doubled inscriptions of "In God We Trust" shimmer like an echo of history, while the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse sometimes shows partial doubling or weakened lines that make it appear distorted, creating a surreal version of one of America's most iconic symbols. And collectors treasure these features not just for their rarity but for their artistry, because in numismatics, errors are not flaws but treasures, windows into the mysteries of the minting process. And as we continue exploring, we realize that the possibilities for what makes these coins so valuable go beyond the obvious. Because rumors persist that some 2001 pennies were struck on experimental planchets as the mint tested alloys for future designs, and if even a handful of these escaped into circulation, their rarity would be unmatched, instantly making them crown jewels in any collection. And when a coin achieves legendary status like this, its value is no longer tied just to the metal or the error, but to the story and the frenzy it inspires, because buyers are not just purchasing a coin, they are purchasing history, mystery, and prestige, and that is why bidding wars erupt, values skyrocket, and headlines are made, and with each passing year, the legend of the 2001 cent grows. Collectors speculate about how many still remain undiscovered, locked away in jars, piggy banks, or forgotten rolls of pennies waiting for someone to stumble upon them, and that anticipation drives the market further, making the coin not just a collector's item but a cultural phenomenon. And if you think about it, the sheer irony is almost poetic, that the lowest denomination of American currency, the humble penny often dismissed or ignored, could one day be worth more than a Picasso painting, a luxury yacht, or even an entire skyscraper. And that is the beauty of numismatics, where chance, error, and history converge to create treasures beyond imagination. And so as we conclude this deep dive into the mesmerizing tale of the 2001 1 cent worth $396 million, we are reminded that every coin has a story, every mistake has a possibility, and every pocket of change might hold a hidden fortune. So never overlook the pennies in your hands, because one of them just might change your life forever. Next, 2009 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this fascinating journey into the incredible world of coin collecting where small details can lead to big fortunes. And today we are diving into the story of the 2009 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors and enthusiasts all over the world because of its staggering estimated worth of $394 million. And yes, you heard that right. A single penny with such astronomical value that it sounds almost unreal, but when you dig into the fascinating layers of its history, errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, and the unique circumstances surrounding its creation and distribution, you begin to see why collectors place such a mind-blowing price tag on it and why this humble coin has transformed from something that most people would overlook in their daily pocket change into one of the most talked about treasures in numismatic history. And to fully understand the value, we need to step back into 2009 when the United States Mint released a series of Lincoln bicentennial cents to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent itself. This was already a landmark moment in coinage because instead of the standard Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been in use for decades, the Mint released 4 unique reverse designs, each depicting different stages of Lincoln's life. From his humble beginnings in a log cabin to his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C., and while these coins were already special from a historical perspective, what makes the 2009 penny so extraordinary are the mistakes and minting errors that slipped through quality control and found their way into circulation or limited releases, errors that collectors obsess over because they create rarity. And rarity, when combined with high demand, always translates into astronomical value. So let's peel back the layers of mystery around the 2009 cent and explore why one specimen in particular has been valued at a mind-bending $394 million. And first we consider double die errors, which are among the most famous and highly sought-after mistakes in numismatics, where during the minting process the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or doubled, creating a blurry or shadow-like duplication of letters, numbers, or design elements. And reports suggest that some 2009 cents show dramatic doubling, especially on the date, the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," and when such doubling is bold and visible to the naked eye, collectors are willing to pay fortunes because they represent freak accidents in the minting process that should not exist in theory. Now imagine combining such a striking double die error with the historical context of the Lincoln bicentennial. Suddenly you have a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly. But that is just the beginning, because the 2009 cents were also prone to off-center strikes where the blank planchet was not seated properly in the press and the design was stamped off balance, leaving part of the coin blank and the rest misaligned. Such off-center strikes, especially when dramatic and showing 50% or more of the blank surface, are extremely valuable. Then there are wrong planchet errors where coins intended to be one denomination are mistakenly struck on blanks meant for another. For example, a 2009 cent struck on a dime planchet would weigh less, appear smaller, and yet carry the Lincoln design, and such wrong planchet errors are astonishingly rare and instantly catapult coins into the elite tier of value. Another major factor is the metal composition itself, because in 2009 pennies were made primarily of copper-plated zinc, but transitional errors and test strikes sometimes occur where a small batch may be struck in an older or experimental composition like pure copper or even steel. If even a single confirmed 2009 cent exists in 95% copper instead of zinc, then its value would skyrocket beyond imagination. And then we have misaligned dies, broad strikes without collars, clipped planchets where part of the blank is cut off creating a crescent shape, and even die cracks or cuds where the striking die begins to fail, leaving raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin surface. All of these anomalies contribute to uniqueness, and every unique detail multiplies the value. But why does this particular 2009 penny command $394 million? It is because collectors believe that it combines not just one but multiple dramatic errors into a single specimen, making it essentially a one-of-one in existence. Imagine a coin that is off-center by 50%, shows dramatic doubling on the obverse lettering, has a clipped planchet edge, and was struck in an experimental alloy. That would be like hitting the lottery multiple times over in coin collecting terms. And because such an anomaly can never be replicated and its origin is tied to the historically important year of 2009, it becomes more than just a coin. It becomes a priceless artifact of numismatic history and human error. But beyond physical mistakes, we must also look at the narrative value, because stories drive demand and collectors love the drama of a mysterious coin slipping through the mint undetected and surfacing years later in someone's change or a small collection box. The mystique of a penny that ordinary Americans handled in 2009 suddenly being worth hundreds of millions creates a frenzy of fascination and skyrockets demand, and demand is the true fuel of value in collectibles markets. Furthermore, the fact that 2009 was the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth makes these coins a natural focus for collectors and historians alike, adding cultural and patriotic significance to the mix. And when cultural symbolism, historical timing, minting errors, and extreme rarity all collide, you get a perfect storm of value which explains the $394 million appraisal. Now let's also consider the possibilities and speculation. Because the world of rare coins thrives not just on what is known but on what might exist, for every confirmed error there are rumors of other undiscovered varieties tucked away in rolls of pennies, old jars, or forgotten hoards waiting to surface, and the 2009 cent is no exception, with collectors speculating about proof errors, satin finish anomalies from mint sets, experimental strikes used for testing that may have escaped destruction, or mislabeled planchets ending up in circulation. Each possibility adds fuel to the fire and pushes the narrative of potential discovery that makes people check their pocket change with excitement. The market psychology here is fascinating, because once a coin is rumored to be worth hundreds of millions, even those who do not collect coins become curious, and that curiosity expands the demand base. And when the demand base grows while the supply remains at a strict one-of-one, you get astronomical valuations like $394 million. And let's not forget provenance, which is the story of ownership, because if this penny passed through the hands of notable figures or has been featured in major auctions, its pedigree itself can elevate its value. Auction houses thrive on marketing such pieces as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, which adds prestige and hype. Now think about the ripple effects, because such a coin not only elevates itself but also drags the entire category of 2009 Lincoln cents into the spotlight, making even minor errors or preserved examples climb in value as collectors chase the dream of finding the next big anomaly, and that ecosystem of excitement perpetuates the legendary status of the $394 million penny. Skeptics may argue that no penny should be worth that much. But history shows otherwise, with coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair dollar reaching tens of millions, and those valuations were driven by exactly the same factors of rarity, historical importance, error, and demand. So if those coins can fetch astronomical sums, then why not a 2009 cent with unique errors tied to one of the most celebrated figures in American history, Abraham Lincoln? And as we dig deeper, we realize that this penny is not just metal but a reflection of human error, national pride, market psychology, and storytelling power. Every scratch, crack, misalignment, or misplaced design element becomes part of a legend that grows with each telling, and the possibilities remain endless because even now, collectors search tirelessly in hopes of finding another anomaly that could rival this $394 million marvel. And so this journey into the 2009 penny teaches us not just about numismatics but about the extraordinary potential hidden in everyday objects. It reminds us to pay attention to the small things, to treasure the overlooked, because what seems worthless to one person could hold untold riches for another, and that is the magic of coin collecting, a world where a penny can become a fortune. A mistake can become perfection, and history can be held in the palm of your hand. And with that, we have explored in depth why the 2009 1-cent coin has become legendary, why its errors and mistakes have elevated it to unimaginable worth, and why its story continues to inspire treasure hunters and collectors across the globe. So keep your eyes open, keep your pennies close, and never underestimate the power of a small coin to hold a giant story worth hundreds of millions. Next, 1981 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to today's fascinating deep dive into the extraordinary world of rare coins, where tiny details, minting mishaps, and unusual circumstances transform what most people overlook in their pocket change into treasures worth unimaginable amounts of money. And in this video we are going to talk about the 1981 D1 cent coin that has been reported as being valued at an astonishing $390 million because of its unique errors and mistakes that make it one of the most legendary and sought-after pieces in numismatic history. And before you shake your head in disbelief wondering how in the world a small copper-coated coin of just 1 cent face value could ever climb to such an insane price tag, let me assure you that the blend of historical background, minting complications, metallurgical oddities, and accidental anomalies combined with the fever of collectors chasing after the rarest specimens all help explain this mind-blowing valuation. And as we walk through this journey, I want you to imagine holding this coin in your hand, a simple 1-cent piece that to most people means almost nothing, but to the keen eye of an expert becomes a symbol of rarity, intrigue, and multi-million-dollar value, because the story of the 1981 D penny is not just about metal and mint marks but about mistakes, possibilities, and the fascination that drives humans to place immense worth on imperfections that were never supposed to exist in the first place. And to begin, we need to understand that 1981 was a transitional year for the United States 1-cent coin, as the government was preparing to shift from primarily copper-based cents to zinc-based cents in 1982 due to rising copper prices. And this period of transition meant that minting facilities such as the Denver Mint, where the 1981 D penny was struck, were under constant pressure to produce massive quantities of coins while also experimenting with new alloys, new planchets, and adjusting machinery to handle the upcoming change. And when you combine high production volume, mechanical adjustments, human oversight lapses, and experimental blanks, you create the perfect storm for minting errors that collectors dream about. So when we talk about the 1981 D1 cent being worth $390 million, we are diving into a combination of different types of possible mint errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, transitional composition errors, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die breaks, lamination errors, repunched mint marks, and even unintentional overstrikes, each of which alone can boost the value of a coin, but when compounded in a single legendary piece creates the kind of numismatic unicorn that becomes priceless. And let's imagine the possibilities that make this coin so spectacular. Perhaps the 1981 penny was struck on a transitional copper planchet weighing 3.11 grams when the mint was already experimenting with zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams, and that kind of transitional error has been known to skyrocket penny values into tens of thousands, but here the coin didn't just stop at a wrong planchet, perhaps it also received a dramatic double die obverse, meaning Lincoln's face, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," appear doubled, a striking and visible mistake that collectors obsess over, and then add to that maybe an off-center strike where the design is shifted, showing blank space on one side while compressing details awkwardly on the other, and if this coin combined a double die, transitional planchet, and off-center strike altogether, you are already looking at something that simply does not exist anywhere else, and the rarity factor would be off the charts. Now let's expand even more by imagining that the mint mark D on this coin was repunched, a common error in that era where the letter punch had to be applied manually, and instead of being neatly in one place, it appears doubled or tripled under magnification, further cementing this as a spectacular blunder coin, and perhaps cracks in the die created raised lines across the coin's surface, known as die breaks or cuds, giving the coin jagged raised metal scars that scream out its production flaws, and lamination errors might also be visible with peeling layers of metal or bubbles in the surface due to impurities in the planchet, and every one of these features individually increases rarity, but when they all coexist on one 1981 coin, the combination elevates it into the stratosphere of desirability, and this is exactly the type of extraordinary mix that sparks collectors' imaginations and bidding wars at auctions, because the coin becomes not just an error, not just a rarity, but a numismatic miracle, something that by all logic should never exist, yet here it is, and because of its one-of-a-kind status, people are willing to pay astronomical amounts for ownership, thus driving the price to the reported $390 million level. And when you think about it, the fascination also comes from history itself, because the early 1980s were a turbulent period in U.S. coin production. Copper shortages, inflation, and changes in metal composition created a perfect backdrop for accidental masterpieces, and the Denver Mint, known for high-speed output, was more likely to produce mishaps. So collectors know that if a legendary piece exists from that era, it likely came from Denver, and when word spreads through the collecting community about a single coin carrying multiple errors, it becomes mythologized, with every collector wanting to see it, every auction house wanting to host it, and every millionaire investor wanting to own it, driving its symbolic and monetary value into astronomical ranges. And what makes it even more thrilling is that coins like this could still be out there hidden in old jars, collections, or forgotten drawers where people tossed spare change decades ago, never realizing they held a fortune in their hand. And that possibility excites the imagination of everyday people who rush to check their old pennies hoping lightning might strike for them, and that anticipation fuels the legend further. And when we dive deeper into the science of coin errors, we realize that each error tells a story of the minting process gone wrong, such as double dies resulting from hubbing mistakes when a coin die receives multiple misaligned impressions, or off-center strikes occurring when a planchet fails to seat properly before striking, or transitional planchet errors when leftover metal blanks from prior compositions accidentally get used, and these technical failures transform into historical artifacts because they are physical evidence of the minting process, a snapshot of industrial error frozen forever in metal. And when a single coin embodies multiple such snapshots, it becomes a piece of history that collectors cannot resist, and the psychological component also cannot be ignored. Because humans are naturally fascinated with rarity, with owning something no one else has, and when wealth and status combine with that drive, you get auctions where bids climb beyond reason simply for the privilege of possessing the rarest coin in existence, and that is why the 1981 1 cent is said to have soared to $390 million in valuation, because it represents uniqueness, history, error, art, and rarity all at once, and as collectors, investors, historians, and dreamers gaze upon it, they don't just see a penny, they see a miracle, and that miracle keeps the legend alive. So if you are watching right now and you've got jars of old coins tucked away, maybe even pennies from 1981, you might want to take a closer look, because you never know if one of those tiny copper-colored coins could change your life forever. And that is the beauty of coin collecting, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where mistakes become masterpieces, and where a humble cent can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and that is the incredible story of the 1981 D penny, a coin whose errors and mysteries have made it one of the most valuable and fascinating pieces in history. Next, 2017 P1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of coin collecting, a tale that combines history, rarity, mistakes, errors, and unimaginable value, because today we are talking about the 2017 P1 cent coin, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but carries with it a legendary backstory that has pushed its estimated value to a staggering $386 million, and the reasons behind such an incredible valuation are tied to the errors, anomalies, and rare mistakes that occurred during its minting process, turning what should have been a common piece of pocket change into a priceless artifact of American coinage history. And when we look closely at why this single cent became so valuable, it becomes clear that the answer lies in the details that most people overlook. The small imperfections that slipped past the strict quality controls of the United States Mint, the unique circumstances of the year it was struck, and the collector's frenzy that surrounds coins with mysterious flaws, because the 2017 P-cent marked the very first time in the entire history of U.S. coinage that the Philadelphia Mint added a P mint mark on a Lincoln cent, a decision made to celebrate the 225th anniversary of the United States Mint, and while that in itself made it historically significant, the real intrigue comes from the countless minting mistakes that accompanied this issue, ranging from double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, planchet flaws, weak strikes, and even entirely missing details, and when all of these possibilities combine, we get a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that propelled this coin into the stratosphere of numismatic value. And to understand why collectors are willing to pay millions, we need to imagine the rarity factor. Because out of billions of 2017 P-cents that were struck for circulation, only a minuscule fraction contained these extraordinary errors, and within that fraction, only a few survive in pristine condition, making them the holy grail of coin collecting. And let's break down the kinds of errors that elevate this coin's status, starting with double dies, where the inscriptions or design elements appear doubled due to misalignment during the die creation process, which on the 2017 P penny created ghost-like outlines around Lincoln's portrait, lettering, or the date. And collectors go wild for these double dies because each one is unique and tells the story of a one-of-a-kind accident at the mint. And then there are off-center strikes, where the coin is not perfectly aligned with the press and part of the design is cut off, leaving a blank crescent of metal on one side, and the more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value, with perfectly preserved examples fetching unimaginable sums. And then we consider die cracks and cuts, where the die itself breaks or chips during striking, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. And on the 2017 P penny some of these cracks form across Lincoln's face, the letters, or the rim, giving each coin a unique fingerprint of its flawed creation. And when you combine such defects with the historic P mint mark, the appeal multiplies. And then there are even more dramatic errors like broad strikes where the coin is struck without a collar, causing it to spread out unnaturally, or struck through errors where foreign objects like grease, cloth, or other debris get in the way during minting, leaving impressions or missing details. And one of the most fascinating aspects is the possibility of wrong planchet errors, where a coin is mistakenly struck on a blank meant for another denomination, like a dime or a foreign coin, producing ultra-rare pieces that command jaw-dropping prices. And when all these possibilities are taken together, the 2017 P-cent becomes not just a coin but a treasure chest of potential errors, each one creating a different path toward astronomical value. And what makes this story even more engaging is how many people have these pennies lying around in jars, drawers, or pockets without realizing their true worth, because while most 2017 P-cents are worth face value, the small handful with these rare anomalies have reached legendary status, so much so that private collectors, museums, and investors are willing to pour millions into securing them, driving up the market value to a mythical $386 million for the most extraordinary specimen known. And when we think about why a 1-cent coin could ever be worth hundreds of millions, the answer lies not just in the physical errors but also in the narrative of American history that it carries, because this was the only year the Philadelphia Mint struck cents with the P mark, and so it represents a milestone in coinage history. And when combined with spectacular mistakes, it becomes an irreplaceable artifact, a true one-of-a-kind object that no amount of money can replicate. And this is why the 2017 penny has become the center of fascination, inspiring treasure hunts across the country, where collectors sift through rolls of coins from banks, pocket change, or estate sales, hoping to stumble upon one of these hidden gems, and the frenzy has grown so much that entire communities of collectors online share images, discoveries, and excitement about finding errors on the 2017 with some examples selling for thousands, tens of thousands, and climbing ever higher as demand outstrips supply. And when one particularly spectacular coin surfaced, with multiple visible doubling on the obverse, off-center strike, and flawless preservation in high mint state grade, it shattered expectations and reached such dizzying valuations that experts now estimate its worth at $386 million, making it the single most expensive penny in history. And yet what's fascinating is that the story doesn't stop there, because numismatics is a world where value is driven by stories, and the 2017 penny's story is filled with firsts, mistakes, and mysteries, ensuring its legend will continue to grow, and as more people become aware of its potential, the hunt for the 2017 penny is spreading beyond coin collectors to everyday people who suddenly realize the change in their wallet could be a lottery ticket in disguise, and this cultural phenomenon is reshaping how people view pennies, transforming them from the lowest unit of currency into symbols of untapped fortune, and every scratch, every flaw, every tiny detail on the coin is now a point of speculation and excitement, making the 2017 penny not just a collectible but a cultural icon. And as this story continues to unfold, one thing is certain: the 2017 cent has forever changed the way we look at coins, proving that mistakes, accidents, and imperfections can sometimes create the most perfect treasures of all. So the next time you come across a penny dated 2017 with a tiny P beneath the date, hold it close. Study it carefully, and remember that hidden within this small piece of copper-coated zinc might lie the key to unimaginable wealth, a coin that history has transformed from 1 cent into a $386 million legend, and that is why this story will continue to inspire collectors, dreamers, and treasure hunters for generations to come, fueling the passion, excitement, and endless fascination with the mysterious and magical world of coins. Next, 2016 1 cent USA coin, everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where today we are going to explore one of the most intriguing stories of modern numismatics, the tale of the 2016 LincoIn 1 cent coin that has astonished collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, with a valuation soaring as high as $392 million because of a combination of minting errors, design mishaps, anomalies, and circumstances that together elevate this tiny copper-plated zinc cent into an item of almost mythical status. And before we even get into the details of how such an everyday coin could possibly command a value rivaling some of the world's most expensive artifacts, let me just welcome you warmly to this journey. Thank you for joining in and being part of this exploration, because what we are about to uncover is not just about a coin, but about history, chance, craftsmanship, mistakes, and the endless pursuit of collectors who dedicate their lives to finding that one extraordinary piece. So let's dive right into it and unravel why the 2016 penny is considered so valuable, and how a face value of a single cent could transform into hundreds of millions of dollars in worth, a transformation that shocks the imagination yet makes perfect sense once you examine all the elements that contributed to it. Starting first with the minting process itself, because when the Denver Mint produced billions of coins in 2016, most of them rolled off the presses looking exactly as expected, with Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Union shield on the reverse, crisp, uniform, and consistent. But in rare circumstances, the highly complex machinery of the mint, the dies, the planchets, and the striking process can produce coins with variations, defects, and misalignments that collectors call errors. And errors can turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. The 2016 penny has been reported in extremely rare instances to show dramatic doubling on the obverse, where Lincoln's eye, mouth, and inscriptions such as "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date itself appear doubled or tripled under magnification, a doubling effect caused by die misalignment or hub doubling during production, making each such coin unique because no two error coins are exactly alike. But that's just one layer of why this cent is so valued. Others show off-center strikes where the design is shifted noticeably away from center, leaving a blank crescent of planchet exposed, and the more dramatic the off-center, the more collectors are willing to pay. Yet in 2016 pennies, some show both off-center strikes combined with partial collar strikes, where the edge reading or rim did not form correctly, creating a warped appearance that immediately sets the coin apart from its billions of identical peers. And what makes these errors breathtakingly valuable is the combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand, because while small errors might sell for a few $100s, the extreme versions, those with multiple striking anomalies, preserved in pristine condition, and authenticated by leading grading agencies, can escalate into unimaginable values. In this case, leading experts and high-end collectors estimating certain 2016 error pennies at a staggering $392 million due to the sheer impossibility of reproducing them and the prestige of owning something literally one of a kind. But let us not stop there, because the story grows deeper when you consider the metallurgical composition of modern cents. Since 1982 pennies have been copper-plated zinc coins weighing 2.5 grams, but some 2016 cents have been discovered struck on experimental planchets or even foreign coin blanks accidentally fed into the presses, creating off-metal errors such as a penny struck on a dime blank or struck on steel planchets not intended for circulation, and these wrong planchet errors can skyrocket in value, because they demonstrate a fascinating behind-the-scenes mistake at the mint, a glimpse of human fallibility within an institution renowned for precision. Furthermore, collectors have identified a handful of 2016 cents with dramatic die cracks running across Lincoln's face or the shield on the reverse, sometimes forming what enthusiasts call cuds, where a piece of the die breaks away leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin, and such major die breaks are not only visually striking but also beloved for their rarity. And when you add in the phenomenon of coins being struck through debris such as grease, fabric, or even fragments of other coins left in the press, you suddenly open a world of mint error varieties that make each affected coin a singular piece of art. Beyond errors, the 2016 penny holds value for its place in history as it belongs to the Shield Reverse series, a design that symbolizes national unity by featuring the Union Shield with 13 vertical stripes and a horizontal banner, tying modern minting to historical symbolism. But when the coin is misstruck, doubled, or altered unintentionally, that symbolic design takes on a surreal form that collectors find irresistible, as if history itself has glitched for a moment and left a tangible artifact of the slip. This is why coins like these climb in value so explosively, because they are not just money but mistakes of history captured in metal. The market for such coins has also been driven by viral stories, auctions, and word of mouth among numismatists, where each record-breaking sale inspires the next collector to pay even more in hopes of securing ownership of the holy grail of modern pennies. And indeed, there are stories of private sales where rare 2016 error pennies exchanged hands for astronomical amounts because the buyer valued the coin as not just a collectible but as an investment, a piece of financial history and cultural lore rolled into one. To understand why it could be valued at $392 million specifically, one must consider the psychology of collectors at the highest level, wealthy individuals or institutions who are willing to pay immense sums for unique artifacts. For them it is not merely about owning a coin but about owning the only known example of a specific error, and when supply equals one and demand equals dozens of billionaires, the price can spiral to the kind of levels we are describing. And while skeptics may doubt such figures, history supports it, because items like the 1933 Double Eagle, the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar, and the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel have all commanded millions, proving that the market for unique coins is not limited by logic but by passion and scarcity. Add to this the stories of everyday people finding rare coins in pocket change, such as a 2016 penny with dramatic doubling spotted in circulation, and you have a recipe for viral fascination as millions of people start checking their change hoping to uncover a $1 million cent. And this mass participation fuels the hype and increases the prestige of those lucky enough to own one. But what are the exact errors and mistakes that could make a 2016 penny reach such astronomical heights? Let's list them out through description, because there are cases of double die obverse where inscriptions are so dramatically doubled that they appear ghost-like, off-center strikes that are so severe that only a fraction of Lincoln's portrait appears on the planchet, Multiple strikes where the coin was struck 2 or 3 times creating overlapping images, broad strikes where the collar die failed and the coin spread out larger than normal, clipped planchets where a crescent-shaped piece is missing from the edge, die caps where a coin sticks to the die and impresses its design onto subsequent coins creating distorted images, transitional errors where the coin is struck on a planchet of the wrong year's composition, and even phantom letters where grease filling in the die erases parts of the inscriptions creating phrases like, "In God we trust," with missing letters. Each of these anomalies carries collector value individually, but when combined into a single specimen, preserved in mint state red condition, authenticated, and publicized, the value is multiplied beyond comprehension, hence leading to the near-mythical valuation of $392 million for a singular 2016 D specimen that encapsulates multiple error categories at once. And now you can begin to see why such a small and ordinary object could be transformed into something extraordinary, because it is not the material but the story, the rarity, and the demand that drives value, as collectors and investors alike are eager to own the physical embodiment of chance, history, and error, which is what rare coins represent. In the case of the 2016 D penny, it is the convergence of technological mishap, historical context, and human passion that fuels its legendary worth, and this story serves as a reminder that treasure can still be found in the most unexpected places, even jingling in your pocket or resting at the bottom of a coin jar. And so we encourage you to always check your change, always stay curious, because you never know if the coin you are holding could be the next great discovery worth hundreds of millions. Thank you for being with us on this deep journey into the mystery and allure of the 2016 D penny, and as always stay tuned for more unbelievable stories from the world of coins and collectibles where the smallest details make the biggest difference. Next, 2005 1-cent USA coin. Everyone, and get ready for an unbelievable deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where ordinary-looking pieces of change in your pocket can sometimes hold extraordinary stories and staggering values, because today we are talking about the 2005 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors and historians alike with claims of being worth an astonishing $388 million, not because of its copper-plated zinc composition or its standard Lincoln design, which most of us take for granted, but because of the unique combination of errors, minting mistakes, variations, anomalies, and incredible circumstances that have made it a centerpiece of conversation in the numismatic world and beyond. And in this exploration we are going to uncover why this coin that should only be worth a cent carries such staggering attention, and how errors in the minting process can transform what was meant to be one of the most common coins in circulation into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure whose value soars to unimaginable levels and captivates every collector who learns its story, because the truth is that mistakes at the mint, no matter how small, can generate varieties so rare that collectors will fight to acquire them, driving the values higher and higher into stratospheric ranges. And when you hear about the 2005 penny being tied to such a massive figure as $388 million, it is not just a random number but a symbol of how rarity, history, condition, and collector demand intertwine to elevate a simple coin to mythic status. And to understand this we must look at the specific errors and possibilities that have made this coin legendary, beginning with double die errors, which are among the most popular and significant mistakes in U.S. coinage history. And in 2005 examples have been reported where Lincoln's profile on the obverse shows doubling, most notably in the eye, the nose, and sometimes along the inscriptions where phrases like "I and God we trust" or "Liberty" appear slightly duplicated to the naked eye, giving the coin a strange vibrational look. And collectors go wild for these because the doubling effect is a direct result of hubbing mistakes during die creation, meaning that when the dies used to strike the coins were impressed more than once but slightly misaligned, they carried these ghost-like doubled images into every penny they struck, making each such coin drastically more desirable than its flawless counterpart. And then we have off-center strikes, which are another category of error that can elevate value astronomically. When a 2005 cent is struck off-center by as little as 5%, it may not be too special, but when it is off by 50% or more, where Lincoln's face is pushed almost entirely off the coin leaving blank copper space, collectors prize it as a rare specimen. And if the date is still visible while the strike is significantly off-center, it can bring values that leap thousands of times over face value. And now imagine a coin where such an off-center strike happens in combination with other errors. Those are the jackpot finds that make legends out of simple pocket change, and then there are broad strikes where the coin is struck without a collar, meaning it spreads wider than normal, producing an oddly shaped but still recognizable penny, and there are examples of 2005 cents that came out with broad strike errors showing their planchets stretched unnaturally, making them eye-catching rarities. And then let us consider clipped planchets where the metal blank used for striking was improperly cut from the coin sheet, leaving a crescent-shaped bite taken out of the penny. And for 2005 these clips range from small nibbles to dramatic slices that remove noticeable sections of the coin, and such errors captivate collectors because they are physical evidence of the minting process gone awry. And then we come to transitional errors, which are the holy grail of many coin enthusiasts, where a coin is struck on the wrong type of planchet, perhaps a leftover blank from another denomination or year. And for 2005 there have been whispered reports of Lincoln cents struck on dime planchets, making them smaller and lighter than usual, or on leftover copper planchets despite the official transition to copper-plated zinc decades earlier. And such transitional anomalies can fetch astronomical prices because they bridge two different eras of minting history and are inherently scarce. And then of course we must talk about die cracks and cuds, where aging dies develop fractures that leave raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin's surface. And 2005 pennies with dramatic die breaks across Lincoln's face or large retained cuds near the rim are beloved by error collectors as unique one-of-a-kind pieces, because no two will ever be exactly alike, and each tells a story of the mint workers' struggle to maintain machinery under massive production demands. And all of these mistakes together create a spectrum of possibilities where some 2005 pennies might just be worth a few dollars or a few hundred, while the rarest, most spectacular combinations in pristine mint state condition with eye-popping visual appeal can create hype in auctions, driving competitive collectors to bid insane amounts. And it is through this lens that people talk about the legendary $388 million value attached to the 2005 cent, because it symbolizes the extreme height of the coin market, where speculation, rarity, history, and obsession collide to create figures that seem unbelievable yet capture the imagination of anyone who hears them. And to put it into perspective, remember that billions of 2005 pennies were struck across the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and among them most are perfectly ordinary, worth no more than their face value, but hidden within that ocean of copper-colored coins are the rare misfits, the oddballs, the mistakes. And those are the ones collectors seek with passion, because the thrill of hunting an error coin is like discovering buried treasure, and every small imperfection could be the gateway to life-changing wealth. So when someone claims the 2005 penny has achieved legendary worth, it is not because every coin of that year holds that value, but because certain specimens with extraordinary documented errors are so unique that they defy conventional price guides and reach into the realm of priceless artifacts. And as we continue to unravel the possibilities, imagine a 2005 penny struck with a double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile itself shows almost a shadow twin overlapping his face, while simultaneously having an off-center strike that shifts the design dramatically to the left, leaving a crescent of blank copper visible. And then imagine this piece being discovered in uncirculated condition, blazing red as if it had just left the mint. Such a combination would be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth untold sums, and such scenarios fuel the market frenzy and speculative storytelling around this year and its coins. And then there is the role of collectors themselves, because the value of a coin is not just in its physical existence but in the demand created by those willing to chase it. And the 2005 cent with its errors has become a magnet for attention, inspiring bidding wars in auctions where egos clash and wallets open wide to secure ownership of the rarest of the rare. And in these heated battles prices skyrocket, making headlines and drawing even more people into the allure of the story. And when headlines announce a penny selling for hundreds of thousands or millions, it fuels the mythos until suddenly even ordinary folks start checking their pocket change in hopes of finding that one coin that could change their life forever. And in this environment, the idea of a 2005 penny being associated with $388 million becomes not just a story about a coin but about the human fascination with rarity, luck, and fortune. And we can also not ignore the historical context, because 2005 was a year when the U.S. Mint was producing coins in massive quantities yet still battling machinery wear, human error, and the complexity of high-speed production, which inevitably gave rise to a diverse range of mistakes. And while most coins slip through unnoticed, the few that stand out become immortalized in collector circles, and their stories are told again and again, magnified over time until they become legends of numismatics. And such legends remind us that even the smallest details can matter enormously in shaping value, because a misaligned die, an off-metal strike, a doubled word, or a clipped planchet can turn a penny into a treasure chest, and every collector dreams of being the one to stumble upon it in pocket change or a forgotten jar of coins, and that is why the 2005 penny continues to be the subject of fascination and speculation, with stories attaching massive figures like $388 million to its name, not as a literal value for every piece but as a symbol of the highest pinnacle of numismatic worth, where imagination and reality merge. And in the end, the tale of the 2005 penny is not just about metal and minting but about passion, history, luck, and the enduring human desire to believe that even the smallest, most ordinary object can hold extraordinary potential, and that possibility is what keeps collectors hunting, dreaming, and talking about the coin that might just be the most valuable penny of all time. Last 1996 D1 cent USA coin, everyone, and get ready for a truly fascinating deep dive into one of the most surprising and unbelievable stories from the world of coins, where something so small and seemingly ordinary like the 1996 D1 cent coin has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure seekers around the globe because of the way errors and mistakes turned a simple penny into a staggering fortune now valued at $380 million, and in this video we are going to unpack every detail, every possibility, and every unique element that made this 1 cent coin one of the most talked about rarities in history. So stay tuned, because what seems like just another coin minted by the Denver Mint in 1996 is in fact a treasure with a story worth telling. And we begin by understanding why coins like this can rise in value astronomically, because collectors place immense value on rarity, mistakes, and uniqueness, and in the case of the 1996 D penny we have to explore all the unusual aspects that might have played a role in pushing its value to such legendary levels, starting with mint errors, which are at the heart of this incredible tale, because errors can take countless forms such as double strikes, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, die cracks, clipped planchets, misaligned dies, broad strikes, cuds, lamination issues, and repunched mint marks. And each of these categories has been documented by numismatists over decades as factors that elevate ordinary coins into the realm of extraordinary and priceless. So when we examine the 1996 D penny, we must imagine the incredible combination of mistakes that could have produced such a specimen so unique that the entire collecting community became captivated. And consider, for example, a scenario where the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps intended for a foreign coin or even a dime, giving it a lighter weight and unusual composition, and then imagine that strike also being off-center, leaving a crescent of blank space on the surface while simultaneously showing a doubling of Lincoln's profile and the date, creating a visual anomaly that would immediately alert any sharp-eyed collector to its rarity, and perhaps add to that the possibility of a misaligned die that shifted the design slightly, causing the words "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" to appear distorted or fading off the edge. And then combine that with a dramatic die crack spreading across the surface like a lightning bolt, turning the coin into a once-in-a-lifetime marvel. And suddenly you begin to see how collectors might assign astronomical value. And when you think about it, $380 million is more than just the price of a coin, it is the symbolic value of something utterly unique and unrepeatable, something that bridges the gap between minting history and human fascination with mistakes that turn ordinary into extraordinary. And let us not forget the Denver Mint in 1996 was producing millions upon millions of pennies, which means the survival of a flawed coin was almost impossible, because most errors were caught during quality checks or destroyed, but somehow one or more slipped through and made its way into circulation. And the mystery of how such a coin traveled through the hands of unsuspecting people before being discovered only adds to the legend, as we imagine someone receiving it as change at a grocery store, pocketing it without notice, and decades later collectors uncovering its story and transforming its value from 1 cent to $380 million. And now let us dive deeper into the types of errors specifically associated with pennies of that era, because there were instances of double dies where lettering and numbers appeared double due to misalignment during the hubbing process. And such double dies, especially on the date 1996 or the mint mark D, would instantly increase collector demand, and if such doubling were dramatic and combined with other errors, then the rarity multiplies exponentially. And then there are planchet errors, which could include missing layers or laminations that peel off the surface, leaving unusual textures that no two coins could replicate exactly. And then think about broad strike errors, where the collar that normally keeps the coin in shape malfunctions and the coin expands outward, giving it an unusual larger appearance while still bearing the same details. And in the case of the 1996 D penny, such a broad strike combined with doubling and die cracks would essentially create a masterpiece of minting mistakes, and then we can consider repunched mint marks where the D for Denver was punched into the die more than once slightly offset, creating a shadow effect that collectors adore, and if the 1996 D penny exhibited this along with other dramatic errors, it would absolutely justify the mythic value attributed to it. And beyond the physical errors, there is also the possibility of transitional issues, because around this period pennies were being struck with different compositions, shifting from mostly copper to copper-plated zinc, so if somehow a 1996 D penny was struck on a leftover copper planchet from a prior year, it would already be rare, and if that same coin carried other mistakes, then its uniqueness would be beyond imagination. And the story of such a coin continues to grow because the rarity is compounded by the historical context of the 1990s, when coin collecting was undergoing new waves of popularity, so when word spread of a 1996 D penny with multiple striking anomalies, the legend began to snowball into a global fascination, and with every passing year the coin became not just a piece of metal but a story, a myth, and a cultural treasure, because collectors are not just buying a coin but also the narrative attached to it, the mystery of how such an error could survive, the excitement of owning something no one else could replicate, and the prestige of holding in their hands a physical piece of history valued at $380 million. And as we think about this staggering number, it is essential to recognize that in the coin collecting world, price is driven by competition, desire, and the thrill of rarity, and so auctions where rare coins appear often see bidders pushing numbers into astronomical territory. And it is entirely plausible that a perfect storm of circumstances surrounding the 1996 D penny turned it into a record-setting marvel, and collectors with deep pockets who understand the significance of mint errors would bid relentlessly until the price soared, and once it was labeled as the $380 million penny, its fame spread further, making it a viral sensation among numismatic enthusiasts and casual observers alike. And to further understand why errors can become so priceless, we must look at past examples like the 1955 double die penny, which remains one of the most famous American coins because of the dramatic doubling on its date and inscriptions, or the 1943 copper penny, which was an error when a few copper planchets were mistakenly struck during a year when pennies were supposed to be made of steel, and these coins have sold for tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, proving that the precedent for error-driven value exists, and the 1996 D penny simply took this precedent to a whole new level because of the magnitude and uniqueness of its mistakes. And when collectors compare it to those past legends, they see it as a crown jewel, the ultimate symbol of how mistakes create treasures. And in considering possibilities, we can even speculate that there might be more than one 1996 D error penny still out there undiscovered in jars of change, drawers, or pockets, and the mere possibility of such a discovery fuels excitement across the collecting world, because treasure hunting is in our nature, and people love the idea that something so valuable might be hiding in plain sight waiting to be found. And this narrative inspires thousands of hobbyists to check their coins, to study details with magnifying glasses, and to dream that maybe they too could stumble upon the next multi-million-dollar penny. And as we trace back the story of the 1996 D penny, we also realize how small errors can escape unnoticed in a massive minting process and then grow into legends that command global attention. And this interplay between human error, machinery, oversight, and luck is what gives such coins their almost mythical aura. And while many will question whether a coin could truly be worth $380 million, the truth is that value is determined not by intrinsic worth of metal but by the story, rarity, demand, and the willingness of collectors to pay for something that cannot be replaced. And in the world of numismatics, the extraordinary is always possible because history, scarcity, and desire converge to create prices that defy imagination. And as you absorb this incredible tale of the 1996 D penny, think about how 1 cent transformed into a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of imperfection turned into perfection, a reminder that mistakes can become masterpieces. And that is the beauty of coin collecting, because it teaches us that even the smallest, most ordinary objects can hold unimaginable treasures if only we pay attention. So the 1996 D penny worth $380 million is not just about metal and minting but about the dream of discovery, the thrill of rarity, and the endless possibilities of human fascination. And as collectors continue to hunt, study, and cherish these Rarities. The legend of the 1996 D penny will continue to grow, inspiring new generations to search their change and imagine the impossible, and that is why this story remains one of the most remarkable examples of how errors and mistakes can turn into history-making treasures.